And welcome, Internet World. I happen to have a lap full of cats right now, so um, no, I'm making a video. I'm making a video. So sorry, Internet World. When the cats get out of the way, if they get out of the way. So I'm titling this song Matthew. No, it's not about my stepson Matthew. Um, do you guys mind? Come on, Maggie and Socks. Um, this was going to be a good video until the cats got up here. John Denver had a song called Matthew, and it was about an uncle of his. Although they weren't that different in age, but I mean, from what I recall, they were very close in age. But my uncle were not that close in age, although I'm starting to get up there. I'm 150 years old. No, I'm not that old, not yet. But I used to have I guess it was John Denver's first live album, An Evening with John Denver. I loved it. I mean, I wore it out. And when he used to do his concerts, there were in the background, there were huge images that would be projected up onto a screen behind him. And when he sang Matthew, there's an image of a little boy up on either his daddy or granddaddy's shoulders, and the daddy is pushing a plow. And I think of my uncle every time I think of that song and every time I hear it. My uncle's not named Matthew, and I'm not willing to say what state he lives in or anything like that. I'm not going to give his name, but I can just imagine my uncle, because my granddaddy was a farmer. I'm talking about my mom's side of the family, not my dad's. My dad's side of the family, they were suburban and urban, and my daddy and granddaddy and everybody else were either longshoremen or merchant marine, or they call it merchant navy up in Canada. But my uncle, my mom's side of the family, the men were all farmers, and the women were teachers and housewives and things like that. And I think of my grandma, and I'm like, wow. She taught school. She taught Sunday school. She cooked dinner. She cooked all the meals on a wood stove. And then she had to get out in the field and help with the planting and help with the harvest, and probably help with the weeding. I don't know how she did it. But I think because my uncle, he used a mule and a plow, and I've never had to use a plow. I mean, I've plowed fields, but I've used tractors, and I enjoy it. Believe it or not, I actually enjoy that kind of work. But I can just see my uncle as a little boy sitting up on my granddaddy's shoulders. His dad's shoulders, my granddaddy's shoulders. Out there pushing that plow. And for those who don't know, when it comes to pushing a plow, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of work, because if you don't push the plow into the ground, the horse or the mule or the donkey or whatever is just going to drag that plow across the top of the earth. And it ain't going to do nothing. It's not going to do anything. You're not going to have no furrows. So you have to push that plow down into the ground as that animal is pulling. And you have to manage the animal. So if you ever look at an old picture and there's a guy pushing a plow, and he actually has his hands and he's pushing down. He's working, and sometimes you'll notice a strap over his shoulder, and that strap is to control the animal, like a rein. And I've ridden horses, but I've never really had to work the way my granddaddy worked. Most folks nowadays, they don't know what that kind of life would be like. When I think of that song by John Denver, Matthew, I think of my uncle. My granddaddy was a great guy. My uncle's a great man. I just wish I wish I knew my family better. I wish I would have grown up with my kin, because I grew up halfway across the country. Well, sometimes I grew up on the other side of the planet, depending on where we were living at the time, be it Europe or Asia or the United States. But it would not surprise me one bit if my uncle actually got out there and sat on my granddaddy's shoulders while he was working in the field. Wouldn't surprise me, because I bet my granddaddy was that kind of man. I bet my uncle would have enjoyed it as a kid. I mean, I know I would have enjoyed it as a boy. It's not like I've never worked on a farm before. Well, not a farm, but a ranch. I've worked on ranches. I've been on plenty of farms, been to plenty of farms, sort of worked on farms when I was a little boy. But my elementary school teacher, we were at her parents' place. I called them my grandparents. And they were long retired. And he got out there one day with a tractor, not a mule. And I wonder if my granddaddy had a name for the mule. I don't know how many mules he would have had. But my principal, she was pushing the pedals on the tractor, and I was steering, and she said I did a darn good job. I was doing straight. Now, we were just cutting the grass down. You have to cut the grass down, otherwise you get mice. So I don't know of any rats out there, but you get all sorts of mice and squirrels and possums and coons and all sorts of critters that'll get out there. You keep the grass cut, you do better keeping, fox. There's a fox and the coyotes and stuff. They'll get in your coop, your chicken coop. But I can just see my uncle doing that. And that song just makes me think of my uncle. And when it's his day, and when it's my auntie's day, it's going to destroy me. I think of where they grew up, where they lived when they were growing up. It ain't like it what it was no more, anymore. But my uncle's sort of like my second dad. And my first wife, my late wife, she got to meet my uncle and my auntie and my cousin and her husband. My current wife hasn't met any of them. I guess you could say he's kind of a hero to me. Hope that's not exaggerating anything there. Whenever I think about or hear the song Matthew, I think about my uncle.